be bright. But you realize how important those other skills are to social organizations, which is what a business is.
What keeps you up at night? What are you worried about? Controllership, competition?
You know, when we first did the deal, it was really two things. You know, one was, believe it or not, was the systems complexity. I mean, we had thousands of applications. You know, we still have hundreds of data centers. We're getting down to 29. And we had to consolidate all this stuff, and it's really hard work and nerve-wracking, and we've done 80% of it. The second thing I really worried about was a merger. It's kind of, everything's going great, but then you quickly get bogged down and it becomes political, bureaucratic. You're losing touch. People they're kind of like lining up their troops. You get engaged in battle. The whole organization gets crippled, and it's like quicksand. We didn't have those. So now, you know, I guess I would have to say that, you know, what can go wrong in the global markets around the world? You know, we have enormous exposures, and, you know, from credit, you know, 132 billion of credit card loans, you know, 50 billion of mortgage loans. I think the trading portfolios are, if you added them all together, including credit and loans around the world on and off balance sheet, $1 trillion. If you add it all together, you know, I think the investment bank buys and sells, you know, $1 trillion a day. We move $3 trillion of money a day around the world. And so you got to worry about those things, and you worry about the company doing something wrong and really hurting our reputation. And and you got to worry about all those things. And, you know, if you have good people in the jobs, good reporting, good disciplines, good controls, you minimize it. You still are taking the risk. Someone somewhere, maybe just something right now that is going to hurt this company, and, you know, and I do worry about that.
If one day you retire from the banking industry, what do you want to do most?
If I retire from the banking industry, you know, I was very fortunate semi-fortunate, because I got fired. And I had this year where I didn't work. And I read books, and I traveled, and I got in great shape, and I did some boxing, and I did, you know, and first of all, I realized one thing. You know what I really missed? I missed the game. I missed the camaraderie. I missed the fight. I missed the worrying. Even though, you know, usually I don't miss it that much sometimes, but and so I like the size and the scope, and I mean, it kind of keeps me up going. But I also realized when I lost my job that it wasn't, you know, I was staying the same person I was. You know, I was okay, and most of the people, my friends, were still my friends afterwards. And and one day I know I'm not going to be doing this job, but I will have prepared for something like that. So I may want to buy a small business. I'm not going to stop working. I'm not going to go to retire in Florida. I may buy a small business. I may invest. You know, I'm not going to run the small business. But maybe have some people run it you really like, and, you know, help them do the best job that they can. I have taken up guitar lessons recently, because I do have 3 daughters, 21, 19, and 17. One is right here. But you know, I'm kind of mentally getting prepared when they're not there anymore, because I have a senior in college. And, you know, like, what am I going to do on the weekends when I can't play with my playthings? And so I took up guitar, and, you know, I do need a few more hobbies. So,
One more
I love history and reading and stuff like that too.
Time for one more question. Right there.
Yeah, on the front page of today's agenda, you mentioned that Mr. William Harrison, the chairman of JP Morgan, will retire at the end, and you will succeed as the chairman of JP Morgan. So what's your expectation on your responsibility?
What's my what? My expectation of being chairman? Nothing will change. I mean, it's a title, and you know, Bill is still a friend. Bill will help advise the company, but, you know, the formal chairman job is running the board meeting, and I pretty much, as CEO, ran 75% of it anyway, because half of it's talking about more than 75 is talking about the actual businesses. So I think it's just a natural progression. You know, I should say, and Bill would agree with me, by the way, that it goes back to this thing about either or, and people always try to simplify life. There is no better governance because you have a chairman and a CEO separate. That is not what makes better governance. In fact, you've seen several examples of governance where they were separate and it was a disaster. You know, are you open with the board? Do people, you know, have an active debate? Do you talk about your real risks? You know, do you have the people around the table, do we give them full information? And that doesn't happen because you have a chairman and CEO. Very often, you know, having 2 separate people is they both manipulate a board. For example, Enron had a chairman separate from the CEO. I just think it's better to have one person running the company. Everyone knows what direction you're going in, and the board should have an active and open conversation all the time about the business and focus on strategy, key risks, kind of your operating plan, and make sure all those things are done right and done properly.
Let me ask one follow-up. And Scott, when you introduced Jamie, you mentioned that you work with several nonprofit organizations. And I guess my question is whether folks in this room, me, others, should wait till we're CEO before we take on those sorts of activities, or whether they play a role earlier on in your career in actually contributing to your career.
Yeah, I think everyone should do something. I mean, you know, first of all, let me say, I've always, you may not remember Dunlap, the guy at something who basically said, you know, business is business and not charity, we shouldn't give money away. And I completely disagreed at the time. I told him when I saw him at some cocktail party somewhere, you're dead wrong. I mean, if you just take a candy store in a town, that candy store will give a summer job to someone, not because they necessarily need the job, but they'll repaint the place. That's how we teach our kids, young kids, how to work. They'll get the ice off the front because they don't want someone breaking their leg. They'll help the Little League team or the local church or the local homeless or something because they're part of the community. And we're all part of a community. All we are is part of a community at 100,000 touch points. And most of our senior executives serve on boards and get help from the company, so it's kind of their sweat equity and sometimes our money and stuff like that. And I think it's critical. We signed the Equator Principles. I think it's, you know, it's great if we have a better environment. You know, the better the environment, the health of the world, the better it is for us. Humanity is far more important to me than JP Morgan Chase. So I wouldn't even put them on the same planet. And my family would be up there too. JP Morgan Chase is a business. And while I fight for it, I spend 90 hours a day, you know, if you ask me, I want to do what's right for the country and our planet more than that. And the best I can do is make sure this institution, you know, produces and helps and is productive and makes it a better world. And that's, I think, is the best I can do. I also want to say that you see corporate America getting kicked around in the press all the time. And so I want to give you a slightly different perspective. We are a fabulous institution that way. We give away $100 million a year. Okay, $100 million a year. And I have asked Buddy to make sure we give it away more effectively. I think a lot of corporations give it away. I want to make sure it's used wisely. Okay, is it used fairly? And is it used for things that really need help? Because, you know, I think a lot of charitable giving is, for every dollar you put in, it's got 20 cents effectiveness. People don't pay attention. It's not administered well. You know, you're doing things that don't necessarily make a lot of sense. We help the blind. So, for example, we have developed speaking ATMs, which have been installed in Chicago and a couple other schools, where you put on a headphone and the machine will talk to you privately. We give the blind jobs. We help the disabled, both giving them jobs and giving them access. We help welfare mothers get back to work. We help inner city school kids. Okay, if you are a reservist in the military and you were called to duty, we pay your salary while you're at duty, because we don't want to add financial hardship to the great personal hardship you're making, whether or not you're in favor of the Iraq War. And so we do a lot of great stuff. I try to remind some of our folks, I think we do more than the average citizen, the average middle market business, the average small business, and certainly more than the average congressman. and yet we get treated sometimes like we are the devil incarnate, and we're not. And our people give of themselves, so it isn't. Now, I do think, you know, you have these big institutions, and, you know, the governments look at them, and the people, you know, the people who vote and say, hey, you know, you do very well by us. We're going to put restrictions on you. I understand that. So, you know, corporations exist because the laws allow it. And so we can't just say, you know, hey, it's a complete free market. It's not. I mean, there are a lot of regulations and rules wherever we operate. And by the way, we do these good things around the world. When that tsunami hit, $5 million. The Pakistani earthquake, $2 million. And not just money, we do a lot of other things. You know, when Katrina, $10 million. And so we're trying to be a great corporate citizen and get fully engaged in those things, which I know a lot of you care about. And if you join JP Morgan Chase, we have a lot of ways you can get involved with your own time and your own effort.